So you finally go on a date night with your spouse. You come home and your teenager is totally high. Well, what are you supposed to do? Well, we're going to talk about that today on Tips on Teens. My name is Kent Toussaint. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I specialize in helping kids, teens, and families live happier lives. I lead two organizations, the private practice group, Teen Therapy Center, and the nonprofit 501c3 organization, Child and Teen Counseling, both here in Woodland Hills, California. And every Wednesday at noon, I jump into Facebook, into your feed, live to answer your parenting questions. Let's jump into today's. My husband and I had our first date night in over a year. When we came home, our son was obviously high. It really shocked us. He's 17, and he's always been really anti-drugs. We don't know what to do. He's denying it. Even though we found a vape pen in his room, he says it's not his. How do we start to address it with him when he won't even talk about it? Thank you for your question. It's pretty common. By the way, congratulations on getting out on a much-needed date night. I think we could all use a date night after the last year and a half or so. So you come home, your son is high. It's a big deal. You're upset, you're scared, you're worried. This is not the time to address it while he's high. Wait till he's sober. Also, let's speculate on why he may be lying about this obvious thing. Number one, he's scared of getting in trouble. So if you're approaching this with anger, you're not going to really inspire a lot of honesty. Now, you may be thinking, wait a minute, he betrayed our trust. He's high at our house. I have a right to be angry, and you do. You have every right to be angry and frustrated and upset and scared, but if you direct that at your son, it's not, again, he's going to wiggle and he's going to try everything he can to not get in trouble, even though that means he's lying. And it's impulsive and it's not thoughtful. He's not thinking it through. But usually anger does not inspire a lot of honesty. So it also could be that he feels a lot of shame. Maybe he is really anti-drug, but that impulse, that curiosity just got the best of him. And so now he feels horribly ashamed about it. A third option, again, these are not all the only options, but these are common options, third option is maybe your son smokes a lot of weed all the time and he just got caught and he doesn't want to, break the streak he's got going and he's trying to get out of it as best he can. So obviously I don't know which way your son is going, but either way, address it from a place of calm, compassion, not from a place of punishment. That's not really going to inspire a lot of honest communication back and forth. But just more of sharing your concern, that you want to trust him. You want to be able to trust him so that you can leave him home by himself. And how do you rebuild that trust? And by the way, when your kid says, it's not mine, I don't know, I'm holding it for a friend, it's always theirs. It is always theirs. Whenever you find paraphernalia in your kid's room, it's always there except for a couple exceptions. A couple exceptions. Number one, they're borrowing it from a friend so they could use it. Or your kid is the dealer and is holding for everyone because everyone sees him as the safe guy to hold stuff. Obviously, they don't know what it is for your kid. But whenever you find it in your kid's room and say, it's not mine, I never used it, I'm holding it for a friend, it's not true. So you want to talk to him about the dangers of weed. And he may come back to you and say, but everyone's doing it. What's the big deal? It's not like it's heroin. And he's right. Number one, at least 75% of kids will experiment with cannabis before they graduate high school. So I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying this is part of what's going on in our society. It's very big in our culture. It's promoted in music, in media. It's a common conversation. So from that point, he's thinking, well, it's so common. What's the big deal? And you're right. It is not heroin. However, it's not broccoli either. So we have to understand that it's just because it's not heroin doesn't mean it's broccoli. And having conversations about this. If you're finding that you're having a difficult time talking about it, it may help to get a therapist who focuses on kids and teens to help bridge the gap. He doesn't necessarily need to go to rehab if you don't think he's a heavily addicted to it. Some of you may say, you can't get addicted to weed. Of course you can. Not the way you can to heroin, but yes, you can get addicted to weed. I've seen it several times where people just can't shake it, and they justify it, even though it's destroying their lives. They know it's destroying their lives, and they just can't shake it. So yes, there is rehab for weed. In fact, it's very common to go to rehab for weed. You don't want to jump into that. That's not necessarily the first step, but having those conversations with him. Again, if you feel like you need to do drug testing, that's a whole nother conversation. If you do, you have to have a plan. You have to have a very specific plan that you made when you were thoughtful, you were calm, you were rational, not when you were angry and upset. Because if you test dirty and you're upset, you're going to make a lot of irrational decisions, make statements you can't follow through on, try to enforce things you can't enforce. Make this plan before he tests. And also, you have to have someone watch him pee into the cup. If you don't, it's too easy to doctor the results. If you say, how do you doctor a drug test? Google will tell you. Google will have all the information for you on that. So someone has to watch him pee in the cup. You have to have a plan for if it's dirty and a plan for if it's clean. If it's clean, what do you do? How do you celebrate that? Do you guys go out for sushi? Do you guys go get ice cream? I don't know what you do, but you have to have a plan to acknowledge success. And I think that's important. This is a big topic. Again, congratulations on getting on a date night. Sorry it ended the way it did, but we want to make sure you have a relationship with your son, that you can go on another date night at some point. Again, this is a big topic. If you have more questions, you can always call us here. If you have a question you'd like me to answer here on Tips on Teens, you can email us at tipsonteens@teentherapycenter.com or direct message us right here on Facebook or Instagram. We love your questions. Thanks again. My name is Kent Toussaint from Teen Therapy Center and Child and Teen Counseling, and we will see you next Wednesday live on Facebook at noon. Bye-bye.